and welcome to Sippin On Country. This week's episode, we have from Texas, Rachel Stacy. Welcome.
Hello, darling. How are you? All from the big state of Texas, yeah.
Right. This is our first virtual episode, so that's fun.
Do you know how honored I feel that I'm your first virtual? This is great.
Yeah. We can get all the teething problems out in this one.
Yes, exactly. I love it.
So tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and your your presence in the industry.
All right. Well, I'm Rachel Stacy, recording artist, which that entails songwriter, singer, musician. I'm all the above. Entertainer. I live and breathe music, so I'm all the above. How about that? I don't mind being the background or the front, and yeah, I'm a representation of the words in songs. How's that?
There you go.
So, and then of course I'm like Dolly Parton. I love makeup, I love hair, I love fashion, who doesn't? And but I'm a touring artist, and I'm here between here and Nashville quite a bit.
Okay.
And I'm represented by CDX Records, and my publicist Cliff, and how we met. And that's, I don't know, that is in a nutshell. I like horses. I like long walks on the beach. I'm kidding.
So you're actually also the first Texas artist that we've had on as well, which I'm really excited to dig into that. Because obviously the Texas scene is like it's its own entity.
Right.
So I love that you go between there and Nashville. Now, if I'm right, you are predominantly a fiddle player.
I'm a fiddle player and a guitar player.
Okay.
And singer is my main thing. You're gonna have to forgive me for a second. This is live. We are getting some crazy notifications. There you go. I'm back.
You are good.
Yes. So fiddle is my first love. It's what I've played my whole life since I was 6. Started playing guitar later, but I learned piano. My mother was a piano player, upright bass player. She could even play horns. She played it all. Guitar, you name it. And she played too many instruments, so I decided to be lazy and pick one, which was the violin at 6. Yeah, right. She played that big upright thing, so I was like, that's too much to carry. I'm good. Okay. So I picked up the violin and turned fiddle. It's a style. Fiddle's a style. But if anyone were to ever ask me my primary, I'm a songwriter first, and then the rest fall into place. And then I sing, and then I fiddle. But my baby is my violin. Yes.
Love that. So you were born and raised in Texas? Or?
No. That's a real long story, but I want to make it real short. I was born in Southern Illinois, which is about 3 hours in a small town called Marion. I was raised in Oklahoma, and then I moved to California. And then my music ended up bringing me here to Texas, and my life story brought me to Texas. So, and I've been here ever since. But again, I traveled the world and country, so I'm in between. I have places in Nashville, other places here. So, but the home base is here right now.
So you say obviously you travel between Texas and Nashville. I know the music scene between those two cities is completely different. Your base is in Texas. Do you feel like that's more where you belong musically?
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question. I don't really know, because for me, the musician I don't really place myself in a scene, even though I'm in it, right? Mm-hmm. I think I can be a chameleon and enjoy what I'm in Texas, and I can be as much as I am in Nashville. You go to LA. I moved to Los Angeles. Remember, I was in LA. And I think I don't think I'm one or the other. How's that sound? Like, I enjoy both, even though they are drastically different. I have amazing connections in Texas and amazing connections in Nashville, Hollywood, you name it. I just overall, I love it all. Is that Pollyanna? Is that Pollyanna?
I think that it's easy to kind of box things in, so it's nice. It's nice to not, honestly, I think that there are a lot of people that are very much this is the scene that
this is who I am.
Right. And I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think that there's a very, it's nice to have people that are like, I know where I sit, but also just to be open-minded about the music that you're
Yeah.
making and be willing to pull in those other influences, I think is also really important.
You know, and it's interesting you just said that, because I just did another, publicity. I got to go on all these shows.
Yeah.
We talked about being boxed in. I don't like to be boxed in. And that's just as truth and honest, because I can play it all, even though I'm country. I've worked with the blues projects. I'm in the studio with country. I'm in the studio with classic. I'm a classical violinist, so I could go in with classical. I'm good at what I do with what the knowledge that I have. And if I fit in that particular vein at that time, I'm doing my job. But I'm, a lot of my primary contacts are Nashville, and a lot of my primaries are here in Texas too. It's so hard to be like, because there are people who are like, no, I'm this. And I'm definitely not her. And it's probably crippled me sometimes, because people want me to say, this is what I'm at. And I love my Nashville and I love my Texas. It's all the above.
So did you grow up on country music, or what were your influences as a kid?
Oh gosh. Okay, here goes. It goes across the board. So Waylon, Willie, but Hart, my mother, Stevie Nicks, Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, ZZ Top. So I grew up with these heavy influences, because my mom was a songwriter and musician too.
Okay, so you grew up around that whole...
Yeah, and I tell the story about, there's this one picture, and I still need her to find it. It's me, I'm 3, and I'm in, like, how our musicians look now, with the beards and the mustaches and the truckers and all that. Basically, I'm 3 years old, like sitting on a couch or on the floor as a little girl, and all these hippie musicians are in my mom's living room. I was like, I've grown up around it my entire life. And then she gave it up. And I think her biggest push was always, she didn't, no matter with our family stuff and the darkness of growing up, I do see the light with music that she gave up to give to me.
Right. I think that's one thing that I've always loved about just music in general. It doesn't matter genre or anything. Like, it's the one thing that it transcends anything else, like, no matter what's going on. I used to tour a lot in the UK and Europe, and I would go out to Norway a lot, and you would either get the people in Norway that spoke perfect English, or there was the people that spoke nothing at all.
No English.
And even when I came across those people, for the 45 minutes, hour and a half, whatever that I was playing, there were no language barriers.
Yes. Oh my God.
And everything, it just, political, anything, it doesn't matter.
Gone.
Just,
exactly.
You can take music and find like a little piece of solace in that. And I think that's one of the most amazing things.
And I love that you said that, because I always tell the story. I toured Europe a few years ago, and we were in Austria, and we played a festival out there with one of our Austrian friends. And it was we were the only American band, and maybe 10% spoke English, maybe, because it was up in the hills. And so you had Hollanders, you had all these different, and I'll never forget, I sold out of all my merch the first night. No one knew what I was saying. And our PA broke because there was a storm, and we jumped off stage and we grabbed acoustic instruments and did a show for them in the tent with no PA, and just and just brought everyone together. It was the most intimate, and I wish it was filmed. Like, it was just, and afterwards, and then flip it, the other bands, I don't know what they're saying. And I was like, this is so great. I have no idea what they're saying. So I'd stand next to my friend who speaks, the language, and he'd say, he's saying this, he's saying that. And I was like, I feel it. Oh my gosh. Like, I felt it. And that's what music does for me as well.
Yeah, it's really special. So what have you found in your time? Obviously, you grew up around it, so I guess you had somewhat of a sense of what the business was like, to a small degree. But actually getting into that and really like facing head on, or there's there's a ton of stuff in the industry, but I mean, what have you
God.
found to be the hardest challenge of actually making music a career?
Professional.
Yeah.
I think the hardest part is what you're saying is like, I would prefer not to have to do all the bells and whistles, and I just want to do music. But it's part of the responsibility of promoting your career, correct? And I think it started hitting me. Well, I lived in Los Angeles. I mean, even though I did it before I got to Hollywood, in LA, I started learning the realities of the business. And I was like, whoa. And here's the strange thing. I knew nothing about marketing. I knew nothing about PR. I just would go tell everybody about my music. I'd go up and down the street at Sunset Boulevard and be like, hey, I'm playing the Cat Club tonight. You should come to my show. My name is Rachel Stacy. You know, I had no idea. I just wanted you to come enjoy music with me and hear my songs and my story and let me get it out for 45 minutes. You know, you understand the 45-minute thing. Not everybody understands the 45-minute shows because LA was very 45 minutes, you know. And I got out there, and then the reality hit when you're, who's got your back, who doesn't have your back. We're females. I dealt with that, you know, it's, hey, so la la la, you know, come to my place, and, you know, and I had to gauge it out. And I always tell people, like, I'm a huge believer in God. And I believe that at the time, whatever was happening, I was watching the reality. I ended up with a tribe of people who kind of sucked me in as the baby in LA, and they did not let me out of their grip very much. Now, it was a lot of possession too. They're little Dolly Parton, you know, what's his name? I don't know. Very, very possessive of Dolly in the beginning, but it was very scary to see. Okay, I'll tell us. I've never told this story on a interview. We went out one night after a show, and we're all, it's the band and a couple other people, and someone roofied me. And all I remember, I was holding my drink like this, and I was just like, I had my head turned. I have no idea. Well, there had been a guy that claimed to be a manager sussing our band out. And I thought, and I don't remember, I blacked out at the front of the venue where my band and my friends stopped this guy from, I didn't know what I was doing. I don't remember. And by the way, I mean, even though I've been sober a long time, people talk about it. I wasn't drinking. That was my only drink. And so this guy was removing me from the venue. So that was one of the most scary part of my career, that I then became very like, I got to stay very connected with who I'm around. So the transition from having fun and doing music became a reality of the things I'm going to face. And being a female, I'm sure men deal with it too. I'm just saying, I didn't know. I had a lot of people stab me in the back at the same time. I just didn't know. I was so trusting. I was that girl. And I looked like it walking down the street. I was like, hi.
I mean, I think that's one of the really hard parts with, and not just music, but I think anything where you have a creative outlet is that it's a passion. Like, it's not a job. I mean, yes, it can become a job, and you get the same, you know, but because it's more of a love, it's so much easier for people to suck those creative people in and be like, I'm going to give you everything you want. Like, this is your dream. Here, have this. I'm going to give you all this money. And then before you know it, you know, and I think it happens all too often. And especially, you know, and especially younger. And people are naive.
And they're very, I think that what I'm learning, sorry, I just noticed something. I think what I noticed, and that you just said that is, okay, this is going to sound so like the chauvinistic side of things, but I almost feel like what I learned out there was, I was young. I was extremely vulnerable. I was passionate, like you talked about. And I was willing to do anything. Like, let's go write. Let's go. You're a stranger. Let's go write at your house. I mean, we still do that in Texas and Nashville and Hollywood. But I didn't sometimes know who I was ending up with, you know, and I was just too trusting. So those kind of things that I just told you that happened, I felt like what happens is they prey on the younger because we're so, and then when we get older, they kind of back away from us, like, she's figured it out.
Right.
You know?
I think 100%. I think the hard part as well is, and especially now, you know, over the last few years, especially, is that as an independent artist, you have to do everything. You know, so you can't sit back and be like, oh, it's fine. Like, you know, I have this label team to deal with this.
The
No,
whole
you have
team
to be,
yeah.
And so trying to be all those things at once, I think also can sometimes put people in those scenarios, because it's, I mean, you're doing a job that, you know, a lot of artists have an entire team around them to do. It's not something that you can learn. You know, you can't know 100% of every side. So somewhere along the line, you're gonna get, you know, there's always people in the industry that are out to make a quick buck off someone who doesn't know what they're doing, and it makes it really, really hard. Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, the history of music anyway has always been snaky. You know, Motown or back when the guys were before Motown or whatever, when they were giving them drugs to get them to sign the contract, and they were signing their lives away. And some of our legendary artists never made a dime.
Yeah, absolutely. It's wild when you really look into all of that.
Oh yeah. So, and I think I love that you brought that up, because for me, I was talking to one of the record heads, you know, up at CDX for distribution stuff, and Joe said that it's really interesting that these big artists have a whole team doing what we're doing. They have someone like, oh, we're doing her social media, and you got to do this, and then you know, Taylor Swift probably doesn't touch anything. I mean, really, just gets to do her music, which is all of our goals. However, the music industry has changed, and got to be so much more hands-on, and it's scary. So I'm glad you said that. That was the other shift too. It was very scary for me in the beginning. I was new. I didn't have nobody had any interest in me yet. I was brand new, so it was very easy. It was like, oh, cool, let's record a record. Oh, let's create the cover. Oh, let's create this and do. Oh, this is so fun. You get all. I've been doing it for a long time now. I'm like, oh god. I have a board right here of deadlines, and sometimes I miss them and mess up, and it's so hard. I'm like, I need a you know, those ads for like the virtual assistant. You can. I go, but don't I still have to tell the virtual assistant what to do? I'm just and I'm overwhelmed, and I'm dropped. And the best part is, I think this, I can't believe I'm gonna say this on live. Some people think I have it all together, and behind the scenes, I don't. I'm very vulnerable, meaning there's a lot to do in order to continue this career of music. And I get to help. I get to mentor other artists that really don't know what they're doing. And I'm like, well, here's your first step. You're not doing this. And this is called waking up and going to the office every day. This stuff I'm doing with you, this is fun, me and you, but it's also going to my office. Right. It's having, you know, I've got Cliff on board. I've got CDX distribution and a record label. But it's not like it used to be with the entire floor working on an artist. And so now, fast forward, all the things we have to do, even the manager can't keep up too. The artist has to be involved, heavily involved. And that's the scary part, because you know, Amy, you know as well as I, some days I want to wake up and go, I don't want to do one thing. I just want someone to do it for me. And I was like,
I know that feeling all too well.
I know, you know way too well, especially touring. I'm like, oh, I gotta get in the car, I gotta get in the van, I got the truck, I got the bus, whatever, the plane.
Right.
And then when you get on stage, you go, this is why I do it.
Yeah.
You see that one person that relates to your music. One.
So I had in fact, one of the shows I did in Norway, and it was a spa. It was gorgeous.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Here we go.
I know, right? And I'll be back in an instant.
Yes, exactly.
One of the staff members, a couple of them had stayed after their shift, so they could stay and watch my show in the evening. And she came up to me, and I was actually mainly doing a lot of covers for this particular show. I threw in a few of my original stuff, but so she couldn't speak like a word of English. And she comes up to me with her phone, and she had like my album on Spotify, and she's pointing, and we managed to like have this moment where she's like, this song like just means so much to me. like one of my
and
things.
that one thing, that one
and
item.
we couldn't have a conversation about it because there was so much of a language barrier. And I got up there, and when I played that song, it's those moments, it's hard because I think people, they look at this as a job and they're like, well, you get to travel, you get to do all this, like it's so glamorous, but
No,
it becomes rough. And then I think sometimes to them kind of step back and complain, almost, people like, what have you got to complain about? But I mean, it is hard, but you're right, like once you get on that stage and you have even just one person in that audience, and it makes it, and it's really special.
I'm glad you said that too, because I love that you have the stories to relate to, because it should look how universal we're speaking. You and I know the industry. We know that it's hard. And these younger kids that are I say kids when they're like 16, 17, they're just getting into the business. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's just so different now. It's versus like, like, oh, just different artists I know that have been in the business since Hank Williams, stuff like that. Like the world was so different then. It was much simpler. And now it's much more complicated, but that they think it's a quick fix. They think they can make it overnight. They think they can get their millions of followers and be an instant hit. It doesn't work like that, really. And it's still a game of chance no matter what you do. You have to live it here. And then, like I was going to say, you're doing, okay, listen, every artist needs to hear this. You're doing something when you start having haters.
Yep.
I'm not kidding. And I'm an artist still. I get affected by the haters. I'm like, wait, why wouldn't you like my music? And then I forget about the one person who adores my music. Fine, go hate me. Guess what? The world's full of haters. Do you know what I think haters are?
Sarah.
Repressed artists. I do. I think they're repressed artists. They always wanted to do something that you and I do.
Yeah.
And they're mad and they're angry and they're just unhappy people and they can't celebrate anybody. And they have to go online and be like, you suck. You're terrible. You're trying to look like Lainey Wilson. I just said all this crap. I have a resentment towards this right now. But it was like, I really recognize when you said that if I can remember that one person that I still touched their life, okay, I have one fan and then I die. Great. Yep. Then I touch someone's life and they'll always be talking about it because it's in their heart. And then, that's where I can be very Pollyanna. I'm like, music is so universal and it's healing. And it's also, but for the artist, we're healing. I'm a writer because of the shit I went through my whole life. I mean, I didn't grow up and, part of my story is, if you read any of my bio it's pretty dark. And I want to help other women and men show them that, you can create an outlet to heal.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's not always healing for me behind the scenes to get you to heal.
You have to, especially writing, you have to dig deep and bring up the stuff that you don't necessarily want to bring up. But I love it. Yeah, and I think that by doing that, you're staying true to yourself. That authenticity comes out in those songs when you can really pull that out. And then you get songs that, although you may have written it to be entirely personal to you, it also opens up like a whole
connection.
Actually it feels like it's personal to me.
Exactly.
The reality is you're never going to be the only one going through that situation. And actually, it's almost comforting in a way after having to pour your heart out onto
the paper. And I think, that I was going to say this too. I do a lot of songwriting coaching behind the scenes, and I just, and coaching for me is just, I hand down to you what I've been taught. It doesn't mean that I'm better than anyone or I've got all the answers. Just means like, here you go. This is what I've learned. And one of the things I have the people I work with do is journal, and I have them journal about certain situations. Now, one of my favorite songwriters gave me that. And I'll never forget writing in that. And it was a song Larry Joe Taylor from Texas, him and I wrote, called Till You Have To. We journaled 3 different entries and we got a subject on each. And I was crying at each of those situations. And it was deep. So I knew I was ready to talk about what I was writing about. And I know that I can write funny songs too. About a one night stand and drinking a beer. I don't know. All I know is that if that's Those are fun. Those are fun to get out. And those are a little bit more, I call those commercial fun, like, sellers. And then you've got the deep ones that sell too, that, and to me, I'm selling you, part of my heart that you connect to. And it might make me millions. It might not make me a dime, but I sold a little bit of my soul so I could touch you.
Right.
That's so big for artists to understand. I could go through each of my songs and tell you where I was at in my life. I was in denial. I was still drinking. I was still doing, I can name it all.
Right.
And that's why I encourage people to write, even though you might never want to be a professional, but why not write and get it out?
Something therapeutic about it, for sure.
Exactly.
So, and I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but you are now sober.
Yes. I've been a recovering addict and alcoholic for 12 years.
Cool.
And I used to not talk. I gotta tell you, when I got sober, I did not talk about it. It took me 7 years to actually talk about it in public, because I don't want it to be my platform. It's not it's like, hey, I don't want it to be like, hey, I do sober music. I'm still gonna write about things. Like my song that's on the radio right now, I didn't write, but it's an example. And the reason we released it is it's still the story of where I was in my life, how I felt. So Gary Stewart and Dean Diller wrote a classic drinking, like a heartbreak song that as a female alcoholic and addict, I didn't feel like it was being touched on. So I'd been covering it for several years. And as a writer, I go off who inspires me.
Right.
And so I never, ever dreamed of releasing it, ever. So when one of the B.G. Smith, our executive producer, walked up and goes, how do we get this out there? I was like, money. So, you know how it is. And it's also, but at the same time, I was like, oh my gosh, this is my chance to maybe touch some people. And when you have Gary Stewart's daughter personally contact you and say, wow, thank you for what you did with my dad's song, you're like, oh, I did it. So all of you haters, I don't care. But it was like if I could touch one person, and I have already, they're like, wait a minute, and I'm not out pushing, hey, let's get sober, everybody. What I'm doing is I'm showing you that if somebody had not talked to me and gone sober before me, which are the greats, who are the people who got me sober, then I couldn't be sitting here talking to you about it today. I'd be dead.
Right. Let's
be realistic. I'd be dead, not doing my dreams, in prison, hurts. I could have killed somebody else, drinking or driving, that's deep stuff that 12 years ago, nobody was really talking about. It's been the people like Steven Tyler and Bonnie Raitt and people coming out and talking more about their sobriety when we're now allowed to talk about it. Isn't that strange?
It is. And I feel like it's a shame in a lot of ways.
Yes.
I hate that your people place it in like this taboo area, but I'm like, people are bettering themselves. Like, why are we shaming people for
getting
trying to make a change, right? And I think that's hard. And like, I know you said obviously you don't want that to be you, but also, I mean, it has had, I mean, and it's had an impact on the way that you do choose to write and the songs that you would choose to cut and the way you go about your music. And I think that's, that's an important thing. And congratulations, I mean, it's not, and especially being in the industry, you go around playing bars. I mean,
honky tonks to stadiums. It doesn't matter. It's always there. And I mean, I've toured with some pretty big names and their drinking's rampant, and I didn't fit in because I don't drink, and they exclude you. And there's one particular band I was on tour with that I just was so excited to be out with them, and I was very much an outcast immediately. I could feel it, and it wasn't just that. It was just I never felt like I fit in because of the drinking, and I was newly sober. I was maybe 3 years sober, and I shouldn't have been out with them anyway. Not yet. They were a drinking huge band that are drinkers, and I still love them and respect them. But I didn't last in that band because I didn't fit the mold, and that it really broke my heart. It actually broke my spirit for a little while. I was like, well, I guess I should like dress half naked and be a drunk. My brain told me that.
Right. Because it's almost like, I mean, it's almost like, I've done this to be a better version of myself, but I'm still getting penalized for it.
Like,
and
that really, I didn't win either way. And what it is, you then start to go, wait a minute, whoa. I'm doing this for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to develop who I am. And, you know, by the way, I like to tell this in my interviews. The reason I drank and drugged is because of childhood trauma. I have mental, you know, I have depression. I struggle with depression because of what I went through. So I've done a lot of work to get to the other side where I'm able to now start writing about that even more. And there's some of my songs kind of talk about it. You know, you just really have to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And the darkness and trying to find the light and being in love, which is not my thing, but it was like, or it is, but you know what I'm saying? But it was like, the struggle that I dealt with is fast forward to today, I can now talk about, but I could not because I was drinking it away. I was drugging it away. And for me, drugs and alcohol are part of my story. And I don't really care anymore because it used to be, I was so scared to tell you that because you weren't going to hire me. And
Right.
someone said, this is really interesting. This is bar musician versus pro. I got asked by somebody I really adore in the music industry a few weeks ago, hey, don't you think it's maybe not a good idea to talk about your sobriety? Like, it could affect, you okay, boo? Look, I would be handing you this right now.
Are we good? We're good.
Okay. And take two. No, just taking on you. I'm here. I'm here for you. It's kind of like one of those things. He sat down and he goes, do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a good idea that you are talking about your recovery? It could really affect bookings. I go, no, this is about the music for me. This is not a bar band. Now, I play in bars? Do I play honky tonks? Do I do, you know, songwriter nights? Do it where everyone's hammered? Do I do, you know, I'm a side man with a drunk band? I mean, all the people am I on stage with people who are so schnockered, shit faced, I'll say it, that it's embarrassing? Yes, I still do it. I'm still there. It has nothing to do with me. I'm sober. And it's about the music. And if you like my entertainment, you like my fiddle, you like my songs, I'm still going to tell people to go to the bar. I'm still going to. And at the same time, when I'm doing a concert, I'm not there to push alcohol. That's not a bar band for me. I am there to push the music. I'm a music pusher. Okay. I'm a music dealer. I'm not a drug dealer. But you know what I mean? So it's like, that was good. I think we have to write that. I'm not a drug dealer, music dealer.
There you go.
Come to me to get your fix. Oh, this is good. We're writing a song right now.
Let's go. Let's keep going.
Let's do it. Music, come to me to get your fix. I'm gonna get you high, turn on the radio, whatever. And I really thought, it really made me think that next day. I was like, wow, we really are blocked off sometimes. Like, well, she's sober, you know. But again, the reason why I say it's not like I'm an advocacy for sobriety. I'm an advocacy for mental health.
Right.
Whether it be you drink, you eat, you shop, you him, her, it, whatever. What are you addicted to that causes you to procrastinate from your dreams and what you're actually supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's, for me, that's all part of the childhood trauma. When I work with abused children, when I do things like that, that's when you get in and I get to inspire them that way. And again, if I die without a Grammy, which has been my dream my whole life, if I've touched somebody from getting sober and changing my mental health and the way I look at life, then I have done my job, and that's a big enough Grammy for me.
I love that. And I think, you know, it's also important to be in like this career path, especially, you know, to be in it for reasons like that, because Grammys, wouldn't we all love a Grammy? But I mean, it's not the be all and end all. And if that's why you're playing music, if you're playing music just to win awards, just to have the accolades, then honestly, you're probably not going to do it, because I feel like the people who are getting the awards are the people who are relatable. And they're relatable because they're being true to themselves.
Exactly. And I spent plenty of years not being true to myself, and that's reality, even in sobriety. And you know, that's the thing. I think I'm glad you said that, because I don't even know, true authenticity is so important now in our day and age, and how we have social media. And it wasn't that way when I started. It was, what does she look like? I'll never forget, in LA, I went in and sat with the record label, and they said, you're the complete package. What does that mean? What does complete package mean? You have the looks, you have the body, you have the, and I go, whoa, where's music in this?
Somewhere over here on
Exactly. So
yeah.
I'm still all about fashion looks and stuff like that. Like I said, I love make all Botox till the day I die. I don't care. So I'll probably do everything Dolly did. Okay. I'm probably gonna follow what would Dolly do? I'm gonna do it. Rachel Stacy's gonna do it. But
Hey,
it was
like, tried and tested. She's done it well enough. So just
exactly. And look, you're beautiful. Like you're so natural, and I'm terrifying without all this on. So, but you know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, no matter what, I was like, wait a minute, let's flip this. And I think what's happening now is, yeah, it's our society is so quick that, yeah, you have to grab attention. But at the same time, people like, let's just say, kind of like Jelly Roll and Bunny right now, they're so honest.
I love them.
I love them. One of my girlfriends is Nikki, one of my dearest friends, Nikki Nelson. She's been Highway 101's Nikki Nelson, and her son plays for Jelly, and they all know Bunny. And it's so cool to be behind the scenes and hear she's just the same person. But my point is not to talk about her, but the reason people like her, and she has major haters too, is because she tells the truth, whether you like it or not. That's my kind of girl.
You know where you stand. I'm always like those artists that I can be like, I see them on stage and I feel like if they're off stage and we just went and grabbed a drink, they would be that same person. I'm like, they're the ones. And the way that people are, for me personally, you know, I can't speak for everyone listening to music, but for me, if I can't connect with an artist, then I connect a lot less with their music. You know, I don't want to go out and I listen to a song because of the artist as well as the song, as opposed to just going, this is a good song, but I don't really care about the artist, you know. And I
am so you. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Jelly Roll and Bunny are a perfect example, but also with the way that like society's getting better, right? But it's still very judgmental.
Very.
And you have them two coming out like, I mean, they are everything that people would criticize if they were doing, you know, something else. But here they are advocating for just
prison to escort to. I mean, like you just love them. Yeah. Like, and that's my thing is I feel like that they're opening a whole new way. And now wait, but I also am very in love with my classic country people who have gone through the ringer behind the scenes and don't talk about it. And now they're coming out with it a little bit more because they were forced to not talk about it, but they were still genuine and they were still them. They were still great. They didn't talk about it publicly, but it's like there's two sides to this story. I love them and I love that. And I don't care if you don't like me if I like them. I don't care. Believe me, I wrote something on a page one day and I got criticized real bad. I was like, wow. That you're our problem, not them. You judgmental people. You're the judgment. I was like, oh my gosh. And then flip side, you know, let's just say like George Strait and Merle Haggard. I mean, Willie, all the shit behind the scenes. There was like, oh, he got arrested for pot. Oh, like you're surprised. I was like, what's wrong with you people? It's like, oh, don't spin his record. I was like, I don't know if you ever heard about. I couldn't believe it. Or okay. That I might be causing some strife, but even the Dixie Chicks coming out with how they believe or whatever. And I'm a big thing. I'm an artist. There's some things I'm not going to talk about, and they are politics and religion. I refuse to do that.
Totally fair.
Right? I'm right there with you. And so, but the point was, next thing you know, you've created division and people don't like you. But here's the flip side of it all. They're also speaking their truth. So where are we at in society?
Right.
Like believe what you want. I don't care, but don't down me for what I believe. But I'm not going to go out and cause division. Does that make sense?
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, well, this is what I believe. So I think our society is so different anymore that, we don't have to play the game as much anymore. We can flat out be honest.
Yeah. And
hashtag my story. That's my with empty glass, my story, you know.
Yeah. And I think that in itself, and kind of coming back to, I guess, social media and how that's influencing the music industry and for artists, it's opened so many doors for people who, you know, would not have had opportunities otherwise. Like finally people have that platform. I mean, for you moving through into like new age of, you know, the TikTok, the
Yeah.
Instagram, I mean, how have you found that transition yourself? Like kind of, because I mean it's a learning curve, like, and every day the goalposts change in terms of what's expected of you.
It was kind of like this. So I've been in the industry a long time. And when American Idol was coming out, you know, I was young, but I was still pushing to be in the industry. And I was my first radio interview, I'll never forget. Someone goes, "How do you feel about Carrie Underwood?" And I said, "Oh, well, I mean, I like her, but how do you feel about her winning or whatever it was back then?" I can't remember what it was. I don't know if it was winning or how do I feel about her, and on how the game shows that are about things. I said, "Well, I think those shows kill a lot of dreams." And I said, "But to each his own. However you make it is that your thing. She's a hard worker. I love her." But I said, for me, she'll never understand what it's like to be in a van full of smelly guys with no money, eating peanuts, beef jerky. Yeah, right. Beef jerky and peanut butter to get to the next city to hopefully make it to the next show. You know what I mean? Like that was just how I felt. So that's kind of how I feel about a lot of these people who are like doing so many TikToks and stuff like that, that they coop themselves in their house and they're never going to experience what it's really like to go out and do what I just told you. We had cell phones, but texting wasn't like huge. And it was like, we were, and we're just talking 16 years ago, you know, and it was like, sometimes we didn't have communication at all, like because of the cities we were coming through, and we're in a van that's broken down based half the time with a huge trailer on the back and every hippie musician in a van together with me and barely financially making it. That does not sound fun. I know. Right. However, when you look back, or being in Europe, I traveled all over, we toured Europe. It's not glamorous to tour all over Europe. People think it is. And I'm like, no, it's a lot of work, especially playing in Croatia.
I mean, the thing is, you end up in cities and you play the show. You don't necessarily get to spend time there. You roll up, you play the show, then you're back in the bus. You know, done. Like, oh, that must have been amazing. I don't know.
You're like, I don't remember. I was there for a day and I'm out. But it was like, that's what I mean. It was like, none of that. Those are the experiences. Some of those online entertainers that aren't going around the world and doing what we're talking about, they're really behind their cameras all the time, not leaving the house. That's what I'm saying. Now, the ones that are making it and going out on tour, that's a totally different animal. But the transition for me was kind of like I just told you. It was weird. It was like, God, I don't know. And people are like, they come up to me. I'll never forget being on tour. "You should be on American Idol. You're amazing." I was like, what? No. I've been doing this.
Yeah.
You know, now it's like, you should be on The Voice. I'm talking about, a few years ago, but again, I'm not against, remember, I am all for anybody making it the way you make it.
Of course. I always say, I'm like, even all the greats, like if they had a platform like that and someone was like, "Hey, come on, all you need to do is sing like a few songs." Okay, I realize that's not all it is. People are on Idol. Sorry. But,
that was good.
But you go through all these weeks, you do some coaching, we're going to sing songs, people are going to vote on whether they like you or not, and you could win a record deal at the end of it. I mean, honestly, how many people, if they were struggling, would not be like, actually, like, let's give it a shot? And I think
why
not? If that's the way it works for you, then 100%.
Well, I'll give you something. I auditioned for Rockstar NXS. I don't know if you remember. It was only a 1-season thing, and we were one of the Ruby James and I were the two females that were kind of brought back for callbacks. There was only a few people called back, and it was a show like American Idol or The Voice, or whatever. And so did you. And Dave Grohl was there. We get to meet him, and I was part of the callback crew. And because I'd already had a record deal, they basically told me in my interview, my second, because I got called back, that they, you didn't have an option to even be involved. I was like, oh, that sucks, And I was like, wait a minute. Oh, it's still a business. That's back then
Yeah.
where I
Right.
was like, because you couldn't have a deal, you couldn't have anything like that because they will own you. But it was, but back, that's what I'm saying. It was just kind of the beginning stages of everything, 16, 17 years ago. Or it's really interesting to see where it's come now,
Oh,
It's
and I
like
know the deals on those shows have changed a lot as well
dramatically.
because people have become a lot wiser to, I'm
Privy.
sure when Kelly Clarkson won in 2001, I'm sure she got a horrible deal
Yep.
out of that show.
Yep.
But that was what was on the table, and no one really knew better. Whereas I feel like it's maybe a little bit more widely known
That people are paying attention.
And they're going, actually, like, this is not okay. Like, yeah.
Well, and I think what you said. Oh no, you go ahead.
No, go on.
I was just saying what you said earlier about, like, people I highly encourage whatever it takes, man. If that's what you want to do, go for it. I'm not, just when I transitioned over, it was very hard for me because I was like, I was on Sunset Boulevard beating the pavement. I was in Nashville on Broadway beating the pavement. I was in New York beating the pavement. I was in all over the United States in a van with no trailer. I mean, a van with a trailer, no money, busting our butts. A lot of times using our own money to make money. And it was not glamorous. It was terrible, but I found out it was my passion. I loved being on the road. I loved the fact that we were going city to city, and not everybody can, by the way, Amy probably knows, not everybody can tour. Not everybody can tour. You've got to be cut out for it. It's a lot. And I recognize, I was like, oh my God, I can do this. Kind of like I have my own recording studio. And people, are like, wow, you have your own studio? I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's a generic studio. I can do a lot of work here. But I did this by watching the greats, by being in every studio, and I'd ask questions, and I built it here so I could have somewhere to go. And when not everybody can do this. It's just, what is if being an example to someone for me is like, I will never quit music, ever. I don't care who tries to get me to stop. If God wanted me to stop and shut my voice off, I can't sing, I'll play. If I can't play anymore, I'll sing. If I can't do any of it, I'll write. If not, I'll produce you. I love producing artists, And so the transitioning for me is I have to learn it. And I had to learn it, and I have learned it, and then I will tell you this, I'm not an advocate of all social media companies. I wasted thousands on social media companies that did not have my best interest. Yeah. And but I am for the good ones. How about that? But you will not. I'll be positive about everything until it starts coming down to, like, if I get taken advantage of, that's a different story.
I feel like that
people
comes
pay
back
attention.
and it comes back to what we were saying at the beginning, is that it just, unfortunately, this industry just
waits.
It does, there are people around every corner waiting for you to go, oh wait, you're not as knowledgeable on this, so we can sell. Yeah,
we've got you.
Sign on the dotted line, let's go. Yeah.
And here's my thing, I'm not capitalizing on it. What I'm trying to do, I'll tell you what I'm doing with it right now. That situation I just told you about, I take that negative situation, everything I learned, good and bad, and what I've learned in the industry, and then I help new artists. And if even not new artists, even older artists who don't have this experience, and they're amazing artists. You'd be surprised how many people are badasses that in this industry who have no idea how to work some of the social media, and they don't really have careers. They did,
right? And it's
but they're not they're not capitalizing on that one hit or the hits or their former experience or stuff like that. And so I'm not a know-it-all. I just know that I've been through pain, and I can hand it the suffering of going, oh, I trust you. Okay. Oh, here's my life savings. There you go. I get. The next thing I know, I'm broke over on the street with my guitar and my fiddle. I have 12 fiddles, but you know what I mean? I was like, and if I can help, and that's just exactly what we're talking about. If I can help somebody in what I just explained to you, with my pain and suffering, and help you in the industry, I'd like to. Not for free all the time, but I'm going to hand down what I did wrong, and then you take it and run with it.
Do you find, so you've mentioned you do a lot of mentoring. Do you find that doing that, and I guess obviously having to speak about your experiences and pass that on, do you feel like that makes you a better artist by helping out the younger ones? Because you
By
have
far.
to kind of reflect.
By far. It does. You know, I did what you're doing right now. I was the host of a TV show called Rachel Stacy's America's Country Music, ACMs, which is funny. And that whole year I had some of the biggest names in country all the way down to independents on my show, and with the Country Network at the time. And I learned more being a host than I did being an artist. It was so cool to get to learn the reality of a person, of an artist behind the scenes. It made me a better person. And I want to strive to be. And most people are just the most amazing humans. It's really crazy and cool to find out. But my biggest time mentoring is that I become a better artist. Literally are the times that I'm handing down something and I hear myself talking and I go, oh, I should follow my own suggestions, you know, like,
Right.
or I'm teaching like a little 9-year-old a fiddle trick, you know, like, or something like, I don't like to teach. I really don't. I love to coach and that's it. But someone I adore, a big influencer's daughter I've worked with. I love teaching her. In the 10 minutes I was working with her on my fiddle, I'd forgotten about some old techniques. So see what I mean? If you don't, here's the bottom line. If you were not to publish any of this podcast right now, or you know what I mean, or this or video cast, whatever we're doing, I would say if this one thing, I would say if you don't pass it on somehow, you are not doing your entire job as an artist. That is the selfish way to live, is to hold on to it only. And I truly believe that. You know, you're an artist, you get it. You see, you know the signs, you know the behind the scenes, you know the front of the scenes. And if I don't mentor or pass it on, at least my job is not being done. And as a true artist, I have to give it back. And if that person excels past me because I've given them the knowledge, it was just meant to be.
Right.
You can't be like, I'm not telling you anything because I want it all.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about.
There are people like that, but I mean, eventually they hit their ceiling and that's it. Because you know,
they hit their ceiling.
Yeah.
Well said.
I love that, and personally for me, I found, especially in the country industry and especially in Nashville, that a lot of people are very much like in the UK scene. It was like no, like I did this. I can't share this with you.
Oh wow.
And that was something that always
haunted you.
It always frustrated me, because I'm like, if I have something that can help someone, like, it's not about, we're not like, I don't need to compete with you, right?
No.
We just help each other out.
There's room for us all.
There really is. And I think that that mindset is awesome, to be able to want to give back. So with your music right now, where are you at with releases, records, songs, anything? What's coming out and what have you got out?
Well, I've got, like I said earlier, I released Gary Stewart and Dean Dillon's classic song "Empty Glass," and I told you, and it's I've got that, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 digital releases this year. I'm looking at the board going, oh good Lord. I've got we'll put the album together after several releases. But Empty Glass is kind of my baby right now on the radio, because radio is different than digital release. And by the way, for people who don't understand, digital release, we appreciate stuff like that, but radio is a different world, and it's not dead. It's still there. It's still, they're just different world, and you got to work them both. You just really do. And not everybody does. Everyone does it different. I particularly, it's just another outlet, another avenue. Empty Glass is out. My digital releases are coming out. I've got another song that Mr. Ray Wally Hubbard had produced that we're releasing this year. Amazing. And then I've got, cool stuff. And I've got so many separate things going on. And I do want to clarify this. My digital release coming out March 29th. You ready for this? I recorded that song in 2006.
Oh, wow.
I've held on to that song for that long. And it was such a good record. We never released it. And I'm telling you, we all together were like, release it. So it's kind of cool to take a song you took so many years ago. Oh, I'm a way better artist. But you just wait. When you hear the song, it's so good. I was like, oh, I didn't think you could do that. And they're like, no, do it. Get it out. So I call it from the archives. From the archives that nobody's heard. But it was like, that's the point. It's a good story. It's a good song. It's a memory. It's a digital release. So it's something to keep my name out there for the radio stuff.
Yeah.
And I love that I'm getting to pull old songs and then I'm going in the studio for new songs. So I don't, it's not like I have a planned date to tell you right now with the new record because a lot's going on. So it's happening. I just don't have a date yet.
All right. Well, I'm going to make sure that I post and link to all of this. And when you have new stuff, we'll post it
I'll
out.
be like, Amy. Well, and I do want to I want to tell you what's happening right now. So I just found out that I'm playing. I've got several shows. You can go to you literally can Google Rachel Stacy and my shows are the first thing that pop up. I've got several shows. I think I have a sold out show Saturday. I have this is a Texas thing Friday, and then I'm back in Nashville here in a few weeks. So maybe we can meet in person.
Yeah.
I'd love to, since you're out there. I'll be out there for a few weeks. And I just found out I'm playing the NRA, which is really cool, back in Dallas. And it's May 17th through 19th at the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center. But I'm telling you this because I don't know the times yet, but I think it's between noon and 2. But the cool thing about working for the NRA is I grew up with guns, and my dad was my dad that raised me was a retired police officer. And so we've got a lot of gun issues in the country, as you know. And what I love is that someone was asking me something about, guns. And I said, it's education. It's a lot of education. So when people are so torn about this subject, I like to talk about the education of it because in the end, I hope that I can help some people understand that side of it. But it's going to be a really cool thing because it's a strange thing, but it's such a division between how we feel, but protection in our country and stuff like that. I get to talk about it. That's so cool. That just happened. So
that's something for me that I definitely have struggled with.
Okay.
Over here. But I'll be honest, on Christmas Day, I went shooting with my friend. Like I know shooting. There are parts of it that I don't like, that I've definitely had to try and wrap my head around being here. But I also think it's very important to have people that are let's talk about being responsible and
I have a gun video out that at the very end, it shows me shooting, and because it's just been part of my life. And by the way, good people don't use their guns. Good people don't. And but not to get into a whole tangent, but in that actual video, it says at the very end, it talks about gun safety, education, and I am one of those that don't believe certain guns need to be used. I am that girl. So we're there. But it was like what I love about that whole situation is that I have females come up to me all the time. Will you go to the range with me and teach me? I'm like, of course. And I don't push it. I'm not out there going, hey, call me. It's just they know that I'm not an advocate, but I'm a believer, and my dad taught me very well. I did plenty of classes, and I've shot for years. And I don't know. It's another hobby, I guess. I don't know. But the point is, I'm doing the show, and I've got some big shows coming up. The NRA, I got. I'll be on and off this year. I've got some big projects going on I'm not talking about yet. So that'll be fun. And once I figure that out, I'll tell you. And then, going in the studio with some really special people that, it's not locked down. So I don't like to talk about it yet. So maybe I'll have to, once I get that locked down, I'll be like, Amy. But overall, I think everything this year is about, spreading peace and talking a little bit more about my story and being able to say, look, I struggled with this. I grew up in a very volatile, abusive childhood, and I skipped from house to house because of the abuse in my childhood, and I used to never talk about it. So it's very new. This is a very new journey for me, and if I'm judged because of it, then I'm judged. So be it.
Well, and also if you're judged because of it, then those people, you're like, whatever, they're not worth the. I always think that, if people want to make judgments based on that, like negative judgments, then that's on them.
That's on them. And I love it. No, go ahead.
For all the people that do that, there is going to be a ton of other people who will have gone through what you went through.
Exactly.
And have dealt with the same thing, that you can take everything that's being said and can take your story and use it for positive. So,
and I love that you said that, because it is on them. And then the other part was, what I love is that I'll never, if you actually, there's a promo right now going on about empty glass, and I'm just going to come out and call it out. There's some nasty people on there just saying terrible things. And I went in and kind of defended myself. One of them, I found myself saying, wow, you really don't know who the artist is, do you? Maybe you should find out before you start ragging on him. And then it stopped. There's like 5, because one cancer starts and it just starts spreading. Well, so, and then you see some of my fans kicking in going, I love this song, blah, blah, blah. But there's one particular person, what they write, based on my looks, just tore me apart. And I was really surprised to see such hatred when I actually did write. I said, it really should find out about the artist, and maybe you should find out what my story is before you go in and say the things you're saying. And then I had to stop and go, I can't convince everybody. Remember the circling back, repressed artist, angry, or, mad that I look like I'm just because I love makeup, hair, whatever it is. And it was really, I had to stop myself as an artist and go, find your truth.
Yeah.
What's your truth?
For all those people that are sitting there behind their computers writing that, how many of them would actually come up and say it to your face?
Yeah.
They're doing it. I mean, like, they're there because they're like, oh, there's no, but they wouldn't. They'd be like, oh, I didn't say that. I didn't say it.
They'll be like, oh, I'm going after this. And, I hate to rag on those people, but if you are doing that, and I'm going to say this to the camera, if you are doing that to other artists, I encourage you, if you watch this podcast or if you watch whatever Amy and I are talking about, I encourage you to go in and find out your creative outlet and why you need to cut people down. Because that is not, I don't have time for that. Look, I've had people, there's people I do not like in the industry. I'm not going to go talk about them. I need to move on and create my circle. You're not going to see me ragging on them, getting online. Now, I might have done that back when I drank. Sorry if I did that to you. But it was like, I might have done that, but I know it was fear and anger. That's why I can say that now. And go, look, if you feel the need to cut an artist down, but here's the thing, not to get off on other people. What I'm trying to create for this artist here is be honest about that background that I had. I was a lost little girl who was beat the living shit out of. And I was in a very volatile, violent home. And from home to home, I am surprised I am sitting here today with 12 years of sobriety and still kicking ass and taking names. So if that inspires you, wow, let's talk. If it pisses you off, then you need to look inside of you, because that has nothing to do with me. Hence Absolutely. What Amy said. Boom.
That's it. Put in the world to rights.
Exactly. That's it. Amy and I are writing a tune. We're writing a song.
Oh, well, yeah, like I say, I'm gonna link to everything. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I'm going to say thank you for doing what you do, and thank you for helping us artists out and giving us another outlet, and for being so great to talk to, because I think in an interview where someone actually cares, you feel it, and you're trying to get the message out at the same time. Just keep it going. It sounds like you love music as much as I do. And
I said to someone earlier, I was like, I don't know if I'm doing this for everyone else or if I'm just being selfish. But either way,
do it, girl. Be selfish. I'm right there with you. But you get to become a better artist also. And I do look forward to meeting you in Nashville. Like I said, I'm going to be out there doing some recording and writing and stuff like that. Maybe we can hook up.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll be here.
Yay!
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
There is no camera there. The camera is here. I'm used
to
pen.
Wait, Amy, I do want to say that
yes.
You asked me this. I do ask people to, if you no matter if it's radio and you request it and go online versus Spotify, Apple, Amazon, to please learn about playlists and add us to it. And that helps us out. and buy merchandise and buy tickets, because our world has changed musically, and we're making more of our money through our merch and our shows than we are our actual music. Basically, our music is making pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, and actually, one of the podcasts I did a little earlier in the year with Ava Page, if anyone wants to go check that out, we get in depth about the streaming platforms and really just, you know, how little they are compensating artists, and why being at shows and buying merch and those radio plays.
So
that's what matters. Like, you know, you can stream all day long, but you know, the support is coming from showing up.
Thank you. Oh, see, I knew you were my girl. Oh, show up. That's what we need you to do. And look, a $30 t-shirt goes a long way for an artist. Just buy a t-shirt and give it to someone else if you don't like it. Line up, buy a t-shirt, and know that our music is basically not what it used to be. Yes, we want you on the play. Please, that's just an outlet. But the main focus as an artist is please show up. Right? 100%. Oh my gosh. Yeah. See, we got to stick together, girl.
We've got this. Thank you so much, everyone. Rachel Stacy. And we are going to be back next week with another podcast. Got some great guests coming up. Thank you so much.
Hi, Amy.
Recorded at 2300 Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Original theme music by Gary Wood.